What is up, guys, and welcome to another video. For those who have been watching me over the past couple of years, you may have noticed that I've had this particular device on my wrist 99.9% of the time since January 2021. And I'm sad to say that it is finally time to say goodbye to it. You've done me good. It's been emotional. This has certainly seen some good times and some bad times. But it's time to say goodbye. And it's time to say hello to the new generation. This device in particular is the Whoop 5 or the 5MG, the top of the range one. Now, I want to go in depth into this video and discuss how I've found my experience with Whoop, some of the pros, some of the cons, and a bit of a discussion about the other devices which are currently out there on the market, because there's a fair few good ones. The competition is steep and the pricing can vary. So before we get started, I think it's worth understanding, well, what is the difference between the Whoop 4 and the Whoop 5? Because if you look at them side by side, they look pretty identical. The Whoop MG or the Whoop 5 is 7% smaller. Not a huge difference, looks pretty much the same. The battery life, now this is very different, okay? So because I'd had my device for 4 years, it was getting to the point where I had to charge it every day, which was becoming quite inconvenient, to be honest. But when the Whoop 4 was brand new, I think the battery would have lasted about 4 days, 5 days, they claim. But the new Whoop, the Whoop 5, Whoop 5MG, that lasts up to 14 days, which is a pretty big difference. And after wearing this for a couple of months now, it has been a massive improvement, because I don't have to stress about charging it every day. On the inside, the MG features a redesigned internal architecture, which is a 60% faster processor and a 10 times better power efficiency, with upgraded PPG and motion sensors for improved signal clarity and fewer false readings. So that's good. You can expect a greater degree of accuracy when it comes to measuring heart rate. One key physical difference between the MG variant and the 5 is that the MG includes an ECG-capable clasp, which is used for the ECG readings, which is the heart screener. But apart from that, it's pretty much identical. Now, one thing which I am not happy about, and I'm sure many other Whoop users are also not happy about, is the fact that the Whoop 4 bands are not compatible with the Whoop 5 and the Whoop 5MG. This is annoying. Why have you done this, Whoop? Oh, well, I know why you've done this, because you want to make more money. It's quite clear. It is a little bit of a cheeky one, I must admit. You see, I have collected around 12 to 14 different bands which match all my different outfits over the past few years. None of them work anymore. So they're pretty much useless. I'm just not going to use them anymore. It's just a bit of a waste. There's a number of different options. You have the classic one, which visually it looks exactly the same. You just notice that there's the different attachment, which obviously just does not fit on the 4. They have introduced these cool new leather straps. Now, these actually do look very good quality, and they do look quite premium. It's a genuine Italian leather with a synthetic liner. So obviously I wouldn't wear these in the gym, but on a night out, they do actually look pretty slick. If we go onto the Whoop website at this exact point in time, if we look at the Leather Luxe band option, these are $119. Let's just say, for example, you did want to have like a fresh collection of straps to go with your new Whoop. You're probably gonna have to spend hundreds of dollars, which is annoying. But hey, that's that. I see what you're doing, Whoop. Trying to make a little bit of extra money. Can't knock the hustle, I guess. Now let's talk a little bit about the new pricing structure, because this is something new. Originally, Whoop was just your fixed monthly payment plan, which would give you all of the options. Now they've introduced something different, whereby they have a 3-tier system, and with each tier, you will get access to a different selection of features, mostly inside of the app itself. So if we go through them, Whoop 1, which is the basic one with the Whoop 5 hardware, that's $199 a year at this point in time. You have all of the core features: sleep, strain, recovery, VO2 max estimates, basic step tracking, hormonal insights for women, and auto activity detection. It also comes with a basic wired charger. Now, I have no idea what a basic wired charger is, because the one I have, and I've always had, is a wireless one. Whoop Peak. So this is the next one up. This is $239 a year. So this includes everything in one, but now you get the health span metrics, which is the Whoop age and the pace of aging. You have the health monitor. So you have your resting heart rate, HRV, skin temperature, respiratory rate, and SpO2. You also have a stress monitor with a real-time stress tracking and guided breathwork option. And you got the wireless power pack. So I guess that's just a more convenient way of charging the Whoop. So you get quite a few extra features when you do upgrade to the Whoop Peak. And then there's the Whoop Life. So we're going up a whopping $239 a year to $359 a year. So this gets all the features of Peak, and then you get the medical grade ECG heart screener, cleared for AFib detection, and then you also get blood pressure insights, which estimates with the wrist calibration, currently in beta. And I think you would need to get on top of that the actual blood pressure arm device, which is sold separately. So yeah, you get three options. I think a few people have said it's like being in a Black Mirror episode where you kind of have to keep upgrading your subscription to get more of the features. Now, I can't just skim over the fact that Whoop did receive a little bit of backlash when they made the announcement that they were releasing the Whoop 5 and obviously announcing the rollout of these different tier systems. I've tried to look into it and find out what exactly happened. And as far as I know, they did mention in a blog post that all Whoop members would receive a free upgrade with the hardware. Then they deleted this blog post and announced that, hey, to receive a free piece of hardware, you basically have to commit to another year and you have to select your new membership option. But I do feel like the backlash is a little bit extreme, because in a way you are getting a free device upgrade, but you're just needing to commit to an extra year. So like the wording is a little bit different. But what I would have liked, and if I was the owner of this company, I would have rewarded the existing Whoop users who had been with Whoop for many years. So the loyal subscribers, the ones that had already paid a fair amount of money, I feel like they should have received, I don't know, a discount or just something to thank them for being members for such a long period of time. So it's a little bit of a sticky one. One of the main reasons I got the Whoop band was to have a greater understanding of my sleeping habits, patterns, and what the actual quality of the sleep was like. So they do a very good job of this. They tell you how long you're awake for, how much light sleep you have, the deep sleep, the REM sleep, so total restorative sleep, total sleep, hours versus needed, the consistency, the efficiency, and even sleep stress, which is a new feature which they've rolled out. Another massive feature which I really use a lot is the recovery. So recovery is calculated based on the quality of the sleep, duration of sleep, and how much strain the body was under during the previous day. So this is huge. I use this all the time when it comes to deciding if I will work out and what workout I will do. Your heart rate variability, the higher it is, the more primed you are to basically perform, simply put. So if we take last night, for example, 78%, we got a green score, so that's good. It basically means I am primed to push myself today. Now, if I'm in the yellow, often I will still go to the gym, but maybe I hold back and don't do my most strenuous session of the week, or maybe I'm not going to go to the gym twice, do the cardio on top of the training session. If it's in the red, then I won't do anything. I'm very rarely in the red. Usually when I'm in the red, it's because I'm battling some sort of an illness, or I'm just really overworked and overtrained, or I've been on a bit of a bender the night before and I've drank a lot of alcohol. It's weird how Well, we'll get into that later, how alcohol can have a massive impact on this. The strain is a little bit of a tricky one. I think strain is really good for those athletes who are doing more cardio-based activities. So this is something which I have to take with a pinch of salt. I don't think it's necessarily, I think it underestimates just how strenuous my training sessions are. If you've watched any of my videos before and you see how I train, those are pretty seriously strenuous workouts. And I can't train like that every day. Okay, those workouts I can only do 4 to 5 times per week. And then aside from that, I need to be resting if I want to optimize my recovery and build as much muscle tissue as possible. It also has a sleep planner, which has been very useful, I must admit. This is recommending what times you should go to sleep and what time you should wake up. And this is based off your recent habits of when you've fallen asleep and when you've woken up. For those people who are looking to improve their sleep, you need to understand that the consistency of when you go to bed and when you wake up is going to have a massive impact of how quickly you fall asleep and how good the quality of the sleep is. So if you can try and keep it as consistent as possible when you wake up and fall asleep, that's going to drastically improve your sleep. So this sleeping coach is trying to tell you to at least stick to a decent enough routine to give you the best chance of having a good night's sleep. The health monitor is also really cool. Now, for me, most of the time, everything is going to be green and within range. Obviously, the majority of the time, everything's looking good, but there are times when things are off. Now, this is really cool, and it's amazing how Whoop can do this. It can almost predict beforehand when you're actually going to be ill. So there's some times when I've woken up and a couple of these have been off, like my respiratory rate has been high and HRV has been low, resting heart rate has been high. That is a clear signal to me that my body is fighting something, it's going through something. So whenever I do get a notification saying that things are a little bit off, I take it very easy that day. I don't do anything strenuous and I just focus on letting my body recover. There's been a few times where everything's been red, but I wake up and I'm like, oh, but I feel okay. And then literally at the middle of the day, I just get hit by something, some sort of flu or illness, and I'm just out for the count. But it knows beforehand when I'm actually going to feel these symptoms. Now, one of the biggest impacts that Whoop has had on my overall health and well-being has, without a doubt, been the fact that it's pushed me away from drinking alcohol. I think I was pretty blind or maybe just ignorant to how damaging alcohol was to my body. I thought I could just kind of shake it off. But when the data was put right in front of me, it made me realize just how bad alcohol was for my body. Okay, not only was it interrupting my sleep, I was waking up more frequently, the quality of the sleep was negatively affected, the amount of REM and deep sleep that I was having, but also overall recovery and my heart rate variability. So recovery was almost always in the red, below 30%. HRV drastically down. And also I'd noticed my respiratory rate would be higher, resting heart rate would be higher. So with all these things out of whack, it was almost as if it was diagnosing me with some sort of an illness. It was like, hey, Mike, like you're literally recovering from something bad, which alcohol is bad. You're literally drinking a poison. Now, of course, doing it every so often, it's not the end of the world, but it definitely made me just not want to do it frequently anymore. And one interesting observation which I made was if I was to drink, now we're talking like a couple of drinks, getting pretty drunk. If I was to do it in the afternoon, but stop drinking after like 6 or 7 o'clock, this gave my body time to process the alcohol, I would imagine, and then it didn't actually negatively affect my sleep. Nowhere near as bad. Like I could wake up the next day and still get like a green recovery and pretty good health metrics. It just seemed to be the alcohol consumption before bed that was really quite bad. Another cool feature which they've rolled out is the pace of aging. So this basically tells you how fast you are aging. Now, it does this by looking at all the data from the previous week. Then it tells you whether you're aging rapidly or you're actually aging slowly. And this is quite cool because, again, if it does tell you, hey, you are actually aging at quite a fast pace, maybe you should change a couple of things. So it would suggest, okay, you need to, if you do more steps, if you do more cardiovascular activity, if you're doing sufficient training, resistance training, and also keeping your stress relatively low, all these things will contribute to you actually having a slower pace of aging, which makes sense, of course. If you do more things which are going to be beneficial for your health, then you're probably not going to age as quickly in comparison to somebody who is drinking alcohol, not doing any activity, not walking, and just not sleeping well and is pretty stressed. Now, I can't just talk solely about Whoop. Of course, there's loads of other devices out there that are great for tracking your fitness, your sleep, so on. I feel as though the two main ones which are worth discussing are the Apple Watch and the Oura Ring. They seem to be the most popular and most comprehensive when it comes to doing everything in terms of the sleep and also the fitness and the training style of things. So Oura Ring, as far as I know, I've looked into it as well. I've just got a few friends who do have the Oura Ring. They speak very highly of it. I could probably wear it and enjoy wearing it, but the only thing that is a massive drawback for me is the fact that it's a ring and it's on my finger. And with the style of training which I'm doing, requires me to grip very firmly a barbell, dumbbell, or machine, whatever it might be. And when you do have a ring on, it becomes very uncomfortable. And I don't want to take the ring off when I'm doing the session itself, because that's a huge part of the data collection. Like, how am I able to understand strain, heart rate, everything if I don't have it for arguably one of the most important parts of the day? So that doesn't really make much sense. One of my friends does actually have a cover for it. It's almost like a ring condom. Now, I don't know if this would make it a little bit more comfortable to lift weights. I'm sure it does, but it also protects it from getting scratched. So it's kind of doing two things in one, but still, I just don't think it's good enough protection to make it comfortable for me when doing my weight session. The Apple Watch. Again, this is very popular. A lot of the Apple fanatics do swear by it. And I'm not going to argue that it's not a good device. I'm sure it is a very good device. But the absolute last thing that I want is another screen to look at. And that screen being attached to my body. Right, my iPhone is distracting enough as it is. I'm trying my best to actually put it down and not look at the screen. So why do I want a screen that is attached to my body, which is going to be pinging me throughout the day with all sorts of notifications and alerts, which I just don't want? When it comes to pricing of all these three, I guess, it's kind of done a little bit differently. The Apple Watch is the most expensive one-off payment that you'll make, but then it's free after that. The Oura Ring is, again, it's not as expensive, but it's quite a relatively steep initial investment to get the ring. But then you have a very cheap monthly subscription fee to pay after that. And then Whoop itself, obviously, depending upon which tier you go for, the device is actually free. But then you do have probably the highest subscription to pay after that. So pros and cons, really. I don't think any of them are a rip-off. I don't think any of them are necessarily like super cheap, but I feel as though if you're the type of person who is the most serious about training, recovery, you're an athlete, you're a sportsman or woman, it would make sense to get the Whoop. The Whoop is definitely more tailored for athletes and people who are really into their sport because of the data it gives you regarding the strain and recovery side of things. I think if you're just generally the type of person that wants to improve their health and is curious about tracking their sleep and understanding sleep more, the Oura Ring and the Apple Watch do a pretty good job of that. Can I live without Whoop and having these devices on my wrist? Sure, I could do it. I actually had a little taster of what life would be like without Whoop. In June, when I was traveling, I accidentally lost a charger in one of the hotels when I was bouncing from one place to the next. So, luckily I did have a fair amount of charge on the Whoop, but it did die after about a week. So I had to take it off. And it was weird waking up and not being able to see how good my sleep was or how bad my sleep was. And it definitely was annoying in my workouts because I couldn't have the timer. I couldn't see my heart rate. So usually when I've done a working set, I wait for my heart rate to go down before I do the next set again. So that wasn't there. And then I couldn't see how strenuous the workouts were. But as I mentioned before, that's kind of hit and miss. So it was a little bit annoying. And then I did notice that my habits would get a little bit worse because I did have a couple of drinks more frequently than I would do usually. And I didn't really worry about how this would impact my score because I knew that I'd wake up and I just wouldn't even need to, I wouldn't have any data to look at, put it this way. And it just so happened that I was in Ibiza for 10 days. So it was kind of freeing in the sense to just not have this device on my wrist and not need to worry about anything, which is kind of good. It's one of the whole purposes of me going to somewhere like Ibiza, so I can just, enjoy and not have to worry about anything. But I would say I'm not really the type of person to worry about the data too much anyway. I know some people would get something like Whoop, and it would stress them out if they weren't in the green every single day. And they would think, oh, I didn't get green, so, I've had a bad sleep, and, I'm not going to have a good workout. Like that, you shouldn't read too much into the data like that. And you also need to understand that devices like this, although are pretty accurate, they're not fully accurate. If you really wanted to get a 100% accurate score or data about what your HRV is or how much REM sleep or how much deep sleep you had, you would need to go inside of a lab and get wired up to all the high-tech devices to truly know what's going on. You would need to have something which is reading your eye movement. You'd also need to have a couple of different heart reading devices on different parts of your body so that you would know exactly what was going on when you sleep. But these are pretty good, considering it's just a device which is measuring all of this based off your heart rate. It's pretty good, but don't read into it too much. It's like all these different methods of measuring body fat. Some people are just so adamant that I am exactly this percentage of body fat, but it's like, no, it's not. These are all done in different ways, and you have to take them all with a pinch of salt. So there you go, guys. Hopefully this video has been of some value to you. I just thought that I would share my experience with Whoop since this video is long overdue. Hopefully you have a better understanding now of what is actually included with Whoop, and then you can kind of see the comparisons and the pros and cons of different devices. But I would say definitely it can be really useful to improve your sleeping habits, sleep quality, just to educate you more about the human body and maybe, be this accountability coach, which is going to help you to stay on track when it comes to staying consistent and implementing these healthy and good habits into your life so you have a long and prosperous life. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and, of course, check out all my other videos. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.